Welcome to the Spiritual Roundtable. I forgot to change something. Oh my gosh. I was here earlier this morning and I forgot to do that. Spiritual Roundtable. We switched it out. So, welcome everybody. Today is Wednesday, April 29th. April 29th. And today it's the Spiritual Roundtable, the the card draw for the week. I'm checking something here. Okay. My video looks a little, I don't know, not quite what it usually is. And so anyway, welcome everybody. Today is all about the cards that I drew this morning, and it's information about the energy that's flowing that we should know about this week. And that was the intention for the card draw, because it's always about our soul growth and what do we need to understand something with clarity, to be able to understand our gifts and that kind of information. So before I get too far down the road, I have to find our live stream so that I can send it over to my news feed. And I know we're here somewhere. We just have a lot of posts. Let's see. That's from Buffer. It's going to take me a second. I got to scroll through quite a few posts. And we're coming up on it. I can feel it. There's a lot here. Oh my goodness. We do a lot of posting, don't we? I hope it's all good for you guys. All right. Still haven't found it. Rats. Okay. We're going to cheat. We're going to go the old-fashioned way. There we go. Roundtable. Got to turn down my sound. All right. Now I'm going to send it over to my news feed. Just to let my friends know that I'm live streaming. There we go. Live streaming. And I got to send it over to the groups. Got to let the peeps know. Right? The peeps. Okay, and then just inviting them to please join us. And I always say spelling counts because when you don't spell it right, the quick keys don't come up. There we go. And let's see, we're going to send it over to the magazine public group, the live streams private group, and also the Academy private group. Go. It's good stuff. All right. That's done. That's done. Now I'm just going to send it over to a couple of people here. I promised, right? And I think that's good. Okay. Good stuff. So hi, everybody. So glad you're with me. Let's see who's all here. And look who's here. Rochelle's here. Hello, Rochelle. Good to have you here. And Marie's here too. Good, Marie. And Stephanie's here. Yay. I wasn't expecting you here because I know how busy you've been. Yeah, so good to have you here. Kimberly's here too, and she says, hi, Neshi. Had my mentorship startup chats went well. Good. Buzzing with new ventures. Lots of love. I'm going to order my copy of the magazine tonight. Yay. Thank you, Kimberly. And, wishing you more than just the best for your the way you're providing services and using your gifts to help other people, right? And that's good stuff. That's what she means about her mentorship. And so good stuff. You actually gave me an idea to do something that I'm going to share over in one of the other groups. And I'm hoping to do that tomorrow, maybe. And Carol just joined us. Hey, Carol, good to have you here. And thank you, Kimberly. I didn't even ask anybody to do that. So nice of you. And Christina's here too. Hello, Christina. Good to have you in the house. And you guys, so many of you were with me earlier today for the meditation. That is so sweet. Thank you so much, by the way, for all the support that you give to Star Nations. And I'm hoping that what we do is helpful to you. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. So today, as you can tell, I'm back in my office. I was going to run up to the academy to do this live stream, but it is cold, windy, and rainy here. And I just decided, I don't think so. I think I'm just going to go downstairs. It's so much easier. Not that it's tough and hard. I go from our attached garage to the attached garage at the academy, so it's not like I'm even really out in the elements. But still, there you are. There you have it. Hey, Rob is here too. Hello, Rob. Good to have you here. Howdy back at you. And look who's in the house. Janet Kwame's in the house. Good for you. Yay. I had something this morning. Okay, no problem. No worries. No worries, Janet. It's good. It's always good to have you in the house. So today, the Wednesday afternoon live streams are all about the information from Spirit coming to us through the divination cards, right? And so on Wednesday morning, usually while I am waiting for Mom to get something done, let me tell you, you can't rush a 100-year-old. You can't. So she gets something started and I'll do something else while I'm waiting, rather than hovering, And so this morning it was all about the card draw. And what I do is I meet with my entire spiritual team, and I ask them to please show me through the cards the energy that's flowing this week that's important for us to know about, that will help us with our soul contracts, that will give us clarity on our lives here, and for the highest good, right? For the highest good. And so that is what is in the cards for us. And this is the deck that we're continuing to use, which is a Sacred Spirit Reading Cards by Anna Stark. And the illustrations are by Lewis Dyer. Both are from Australia. So we have a chance to receive information from a different kind of filter, a different perspective, because they live in a different part of the world, right? And they come from a different cultural background. So it's good. It's good to give us another insight, right? And so here's our first card. We have two today. We have two. And I'm really interested to see what you guys have to say about this first card, because I had to sit with it for a bit. I really did. So this is Secret Temptation. Wait, let me take the overlay off so that it doesn't interfere with the card. There we go. All right. So here's the card. This is the first card. And this is Secret Temptation. It's number 31 in the deck. And it's about being led astray. Being led astray. Right? The first thing that captured me literally were the eyes. Very intense, don't you think? Very intense. And then I had to look at, what is that dripping off his face? Right? And it looks like he has two birds, one on each shoulder by his neck there. And if you take a look, I don't know, there seems to me that there's a lot of energy going on around the third eye and crown area, right? Actually, it's not quite his crown. It's between the third eye and the crown, which is another gateway point. And even his ears, when I was looking at his ears, I thought, man, it almost looks like there's lightning or something going around his ears, which tells me something about listening, right? Listening. I would say his eyes are piercing. His physical eyes are piercing. Third eye all lit up, right? Being led astray. Secret temptation. Number 31 in the deck. That's a 4. And in my world, a 4 is about, I know some would say, depending on the numerology that you're used to or that you enjoy, they would say that's an angel card, right? And it can be. It really can be. But from a cultural point of view, the 4 is a very important number for Native Americans. The 4 directions, right? The 4 seasons. A lot of things come in 4s for us. And so with the 4, it's also very stable. It's also about building, creating, construction, right? Because you have the 4, which is a good foundation. You have something you can build off from, right? And so it's some people would actually even call it a launching point. It's the launching pad, so to speak. And so that particular card I thought was pretty intense. And as soon as I start giving you some of the information from the author, we'll see how that all kind of flows together, right? And Rob is saying, looks like me after 6 shots of Jimbo and watching the news. You look pretty rough then. Rob says, looks like the lava of a volcanic temper. Well, it could be. It could be. It's about temptation. It's about temptation and being led astray. Hey, Angie's here. Hi, Angie. Good to have you here. And Jocelyn's here too. Hello, Jocelyn. Good to have you here. That was the first card. And this first card, I say, it feels intense. It looks intense. Secret temptation, being led astray. The author actually also says, accept your choices. ACCEPT, accept your choices. Yeah. Secret temptation. So let's take apart deconstruct that phrase, those 2 words, secret temptation. So something secret, something that is hidden, something that's not readily seen, right? Covert. And of course, temptation, anything that tempts you in a way that changes your routine, that changes your intention. It kind of intercedes, it kind of takes over, right? Your intention, your goal. And I would say that temptation, the word and the action, the behavior, has a more negative connotation to it. You're usually tempted by doing something bad. That's what we hear all the stories about, right? Very, very few stories about being tempted by good, right? Like being tempted by your friends, peer pressure to cut classes, right? And students these days, because COVID-19 and having shelter in place, and parents are now also their teachers for a good portion of their day if they're still going to school, right? And some of them, I don't know. We're heading into what 6-8 weeks of the shelter in place, and parents all across the world having to do both jobs, right? And so I can imagine things are probably not as structured. They went from no structure, trying to scramble and put something together, to getting into routine, getting some structure. And now that the structure is in place and maybe they're doing some tweaking, now they're finding out, wait a minute, we may have to do this even in the fall. The kids aren't going back to school. Wait, stop the train, right? And so sometimes the temptation is to cut classes. Do you guys remember that? Yep. Go down to when it's warm enough to go down and go swimming. In Wisconsin Dells, where I grew up, we had open campus when I was in high school. And we would go down to Monk's Bar because we were all 18, or most of us are 18 at the time. And I was the only one with my books. And I'd be studying, shooting pool. And some of the girls just never went back to school. They stuck with the temptation at Monk's Bar. And so temptation, we don't normally have stories around the good temptation, but we have lots and lots of stories around the negative temptation, right? You were being tempted. Here, I'll show you the picture one more time. There we go. And usually what we're tempted by is something that's not very good for us and is not very healthy for us, right? Tempted by cigarette smoking. That was me. It's been April 1st will be 25 years, I think, or 26 years since I had my last cigarette. Yeah. So temptation, right? Secret temptation, something that's hidden, something that's not seen, right? Maybe something that you don't usually talk about with others. Very few people may even know about it, Yeah. And so that secret temptation, which turns into an addiction when we spend a lot more time with it, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And Kimberly is saying the listening I felt is important just now for everyone. Yeah. That lightning around the ears. Mm-hmm. The Onondaga, which is part of the Iroquois Nation, another tribal nation here in Turtle Island, right? North America. They're actually on the East Coast. The Iroquois Nation, also known as the Haudenosaunee. And the Onondaga, they have a phrase in their language, which means they're talking about the clear audience. It's putting your thin ears on. Putting your thin ears on. In other words, listening to spirit with your spirit ears rather than your physical ears. Yeah. And Jocelyn's saying, looks like he's lighting fire. Ooh, that's a good one. There's an action to that, right? Temptation is chocolate. Yeah. And these days, Kimberly, I haven't had chocolate since last September. Yeah. And temptation for me these days, it's like popcorn. It's like bread. Because of the type 2 diabetes, I am very focused on reversing that, right? And so I'm very conscious and aware of what I put in my mouth. I haven't had an alcoholic drink, an adult beverage, since October. Yeah. So the temptation for me has changed, to things that I would have never thought I'd be tempted by. Rob says temptation comes from hell, but from above. The Afghan wigs. Mm, yeah, that certainly is a two-legged phrase, isn't it? A human phrase. Carol says secret is sometimes something we don't want to acknowledge. A temptation is an attempt to pull you away or off course. Yes. Yeah, and it usually happens. The temptation part usually happens um, sometimes unplanned, right? Although some would probably argue that it is planned because it's a temptation. that that you know that when it comes around, you're going to consider it. You might even do it, right? And the secret part is I feel is a conscious decision. Is to have a secret, is not to speak about something, right? Not to share it. Yeah. Temptation of overeating. Yeah. And for me, that used to be emotional, connected to emotions. Yeah. And you get into a habit, right? You get in a habit. The anxiety or the yeah, we'll call it anxiety level. When that goes up, right? We're tempted to do something that will comfort us or soothe us, right? So in comes, I'll have a cigarette. They'll calm my nerves. I'll have something to drink, an alcohol beverage. That will calm my nerves. Um, I could have a pizza. I could have cookies. I haven't had a cookie in a long time either. But what's on the back side of that? Let's say you give in to the temptation. You give in to the temptation. What's on the other side of that? For a lot of people, it's guilt, right? A lot of people, it's guilt. Whether it's guilt because it's not healthy for you, guilt because you're thinking, what will other people think about me? You know, and if you're cutting classes, like we did when we were kids, the the anxiety again of being found out, right? Yeah. And so there's a sense of fear to it too. Mhm. Janet saying, "How do you feel since not drinking for 5 months?" Um, I feel fine. I really didn't drink all that much to begin with, you know? Um, so it's not like I really that I had to have it, like, every day, right? Um, I'm just asking myself, how does that feel? There's days, when being a primary caregiver has some downsides to it. And so when mom and I are going through a little bit of a hiccup or, the mother-daughter stuff, right? I'll come out of her room and I'll look at Paul and I'll say, "And I'm doing all of this without alcohol." That probably says more than what I just said about it. I don't really miss it, you know? What is missing is the thought that if I had that drink, it'd make me feel better, you know, which isn't necessarily true. It can make you feel worse. Because you know what they say about alcohol can be the, you know, liquid courage, right? Um, yeah, sometimes people say things they wouldn't normally say, right? Cindy is saying, how is wanting to connect with guides and ancestors so bad? Is it a temptation? I don't think I said that. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Cindy. How is wanting to connect with guides? I don't think it's bad at all. Not bad at all. I don't see it as a temptation. I think my belief is that we should be nurturing that relationship and having conversations with them. So I'm not sure what you're talking about. um, yeah, I know cookies. I know, and not just any cookies. Not just any cookies. All right, let's find out what the author has to say. Okay. All right. So she says, and we're talking about Anna Stark, and she says temptations can be everywhere. And I think that's a truth. That's a truth. We can learn from these vices as they teach us about our emotional triggers prior to our actions. Self mastery is the key. So our secret temptations, if we take a look at them and as the observer, right? And you take a look at it and you think, oh, I wanted that cookie, or I wanted that drink, or I wanted that cigarette, right? Down during the time frame of something was happening, something was occurring. Maybe it is that about a relationship. Maybe it is about what happened just prior to the desire of the temptation, right? And what the author is saying is that we can learn a lot about ourselves by looking at, observing how we react to the temptation. Okay? What happens just before you take on the temptation. All right. So she says that a lack of willpower may influence your impulses. Be strict with your budgets as financial blowouts are significant now. So a lack of willpower may influence your impulses. So, if you don't have very much willpower, and I'm going to tell you, it took me 5 times to quit smoking. 5. So the lack of willpower, right? And I think it has a lot to do with how you phrase the intention, how you mean in your heart about the intention, right? Yeah. And how much we're willing to bend that intention so that we can take on the temptation. Angie says, I've been tempted by the negative. Yeah. Like I said, I'm sure there's temptations to do good as well. We just never tell the stories about those. We never hear them. Have you ever told a story about a good temptation? Usually, because we're two-legged, we're human, and we want to talk about, and if we do share, because remember, this is secret. If you do share it, it has more to do with the bad temptation, because it's a better story. There's more drama around the bad temptation, right? Alcohol is a tough one. Yeah, it is. It is. Especially, because when we're talking about addictions, we're talking about the emotions around that too. Yeah. And I think the author has something here about is to be the observer and to take a look at what was happening just prior to caving into the temptation, right? What was the trigger at the very beginning? If, and that may might be hard to take a look at if we're honest with ourselves, right? Cindy's saying, yikes, I just bought 2 paintings from Social Distance Power for $450. Holy smokes. Thank you for supporting the Indigenous artists, but yeah, you're going to have to take some pictures and show us now. Or do a live stream and show us so we can interact with it. I could do that. We could do it, and you could show them. I could give you the link. Who wants to see the artwork? Let me know in the comments. Carol said cigarettes were tough for me, done since 1998. I know. Martina's here. Yay. Good to have you here, lady. Good to have you here. We're talking about Secret Temptation. That was the first card for today. Secret Temptation. Here it is. And we're just finding out what the author has to say about the card. She says that right now, the truth is yet to be revealed. The truth is yet to be revealed. Be mindful of any agreements or contracts at this time and seek professional advice where appropriate. If you are in a relationship, you may feel that it is at risk at a third-party influence. Addictions such as gambling, drugs, sex, alcoholism, and even food are indicated through this card. Being tempted by negative behavior is leading you down a bad path. This health card encourages you to regain control of your life, building willpower and determination, using a step-by-step approach for support and encouragement. If you are experiencing challenges with your personal habits at this moment, now is the time to develop structured and systematic coping strategies that you can lean on when you are tempted to be led astray. However, you are a conscious creator, so be accountable for your past and current choices and seek to change them in the present and in the future. And so when I came to that part of it, and I was sitting with this card this morning, this is what came to me, is that for the safe in place, the stay in place, SIP, for the COVID-19, right? We're in week 5, week 6, and some people week 7. Out in Washington State, they might be actually on 8 weeks, something like that. And so for many, many, many of us, we've never been at home in that way ever. And so when we were first safe in place, when we first found out about COVID-19, right? Coronavirus. It literally took our usual routine day, our usual routine life, and flipped it upside down, turned it inside out. For a lot of people, it was that dramatic. For others, maybe not quite so much. And so then we had to try to figure out what are we supposed to do? My usual routine, I don't do because there's no place to go. There's nothing to do, right? Or there is so much more to do than I've ever had to be responsible for because I'm home, right? I'm responsible to help with the kids. I'm responsible to help with keeping up the house. I'm responsible for helping to cook the meals and clean up. Some of us, we lean on our partners to do most of that, right? And so now time passed and you were able to create or carve out a different kind of routine, a different kind of normal. And we're kind of getting into a new groove, right? And some of us, because we didn't have to report to anybody, or the reporting was few and far between, who's going to care if I watch Netflix all day? Who's going to care if I don't get out of my pajamas for a week? Who's going to care if I decide to have a drink at 10:30 in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock somewhere, right? Who's going to care if? And so instead of taking some of this time to do self-reflection and to maybe answer some internal questions that you've had for quite some time, there's some people who've decided to take the temptation. Could be more fun, you know? In the short term, it could be more fun, but in the long term, it's you're turning away a gift that was given to us by spirit, right? Not maximizing on the time that you have that you're more quiet, right? Yeah. And I think it also goes to self-discipline, doesn't it? Goes to self-discipline. And much of your spiritual growth, the process, the practices takes a measure of self-discipline, right? I know lots of people who talk about wanting to be more connected to Grandmother Earth. They want to be able to manifest better. They want, right? But they're not willing to do the actual work. And so there is this element of self-discipline in there as well. Wow, I know. That's what Martina's saying, right? That this card is quite intense. And I think, Rob, you really kind of hit the nail on the head. Because look at his head. It's like, he says, it's like a volcanic anger, or the eyes are so piercing. It's a very intense card. Cindy's saying one is being painted of my ancestor too. Okay, Snaggletooth is your name for him? Because I saw this last night, and I was going to say something last night. I was going to ask you, is that your name to? I think it's felt that way, because I don't know if they would call somebody that. I'm not sure. And Martina says that relationship is me. Oh, She says I'm working still. I'm grateful for that, but it's a little scary. Yeah, yeah, I hear you. Oh, you waited until 10? Yeah. Angie's saying I'm having trouble with the self-reflection. Yeah. I think there's aspects of that because, way back when I did my first conscious work on the self-reflection and who am I really? What am I really? Right? Who am I? Right? And doing those exercises, at looking at yourself in the mirror, looking into your own eyes, right? When I first started that, I couldn't look at myself in my eyes. It took me a while to do that. Not even saying anything, not even doing any mantras, nothing. It was just looking into my own eyes, right? And sometimes that's where we have to start is a smaller step, right? And it's better to do the smaller step than no step at all. That's my philosophy. So, it's some place to start. Baby steps are okay. And Rob says it's been over a year for me and alcohol. Well, good for you, Rob. Good for you. I know it's not easy. So good for you. There is a measure of self-discipline in there, right? And faith too. Cindy says he had a space between his front teeth, and that is what he was called or known as. For somebody who has a gap in their teeth, I don't know. All right. Well, good. Well, I can't wait to see it. It's going to be really good. Going to have to show it to us. And the rest of the card. All right. If you're experiencing challenges with your personal habits at the moment, now is the time to develop structured and systematic coping strategies that you can lean on when you're tempted to be led astray. However, you are a conscious creator. I'm rereading that last piece because it's that conscious creator message I think is important. So be accountable for your past and current choices and seek to change them in the present and in the future. All is not lost. You must act if you wish to improve your circumstances. Continuing to ignore the problem will only make the situation worse. Professional assistance are required. If it's required, seek a suitable health practitioner and associated with your specific challenges. The affirmation: I continue to make positive choices. I feel free. I free my emotional burden. I'm going to say that again. I continue to make positive choices. I free my emotional burden. I free my emotional burden. As an empath, that's quite a sentence, isn't it? Because many empaths sense that emotions can be a burden. Right? And what I'm learning about that, and what I have learned, is that really emotions is another language. It's like a light language, and that there's so much more in there to unpack and to understand. That there's a bigger message in there than what's on the surface, right? So to unburden yourself emotionally. Yeah. Temptation. And so many of the temptations are based in emotion, right? They say that our emotions got away on us. You throw caution to the wind. You throw common sense out the window, right? Reminds me of a line from It's a Wonderful Life. Out the door or out the window. Yeah. Pixies. Wow. Oh, very good. I'm going to take a look at that after the show. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you. Thank you. She says it's interesting that the wise owls are looking away. They're looking, yeah, they're not looking at him, that's for sure. It's almost as if they're looking forward, right? That's a good point, though, Cindy. That's a good point. Carol says he was Ojibwa. Yeah, I just looked at it like, yeah. Anishinaabe, that's the language for them. Jocelyn said, I free my emotional burden. Yeah, I know. Isn't that a huge, that's an impactful sentence. Impact. High impact. She's also saying maybe that is why it looks like flames and straining in the picture, releasing emotional burdens. Could very well be, because look, that was the first thing I saw. Actually, the first thing was his eyes. And then I said, what the heck is coming off his face? It's not tears, but it's dripping down his chin. Yeah. So, taking a look at what is it that tempts you, and taking this time to identify what that is. Why is it secret? Why is it hidden? Right? Yeah, because we can learn so much from that. So much from that. And that we have this opportunity, this time, this space, this great pause, as they're calling it, to take a look at that, right? And also, during the time that we're home, how much of it have you given into temptations with that and not done your soul work, or um, would rather go do that? And it's not necessarily that we're saying no to play, because I think that's balance, is to go play, right? This is much deeper than that. This is much deeper than that. Something that's going to lead you astray, to lead you away from your path, your intention, is what we're looking at, right? Yeah. Cindy's saying melting away. Yeah. That emotional burden could be. Now let's get into the second card. Here's the second card. It's about expansion. Number 16 in the deck. It says educate your mind and senses. Educate your mind and senses. And to me, it's all about creation, expansion. Right? Creating, coming out, building, making. And when we're in expansion, because the universe is always expanding, consistently, constantly expanding. So when we're in expansion, we're in the same energy flow of the universe. And we all know that the universe is at the frequency of love, right? So when we're in expansion, our frequency is kicked up a notch or two. And our vibration, we can hold that frequency for longer periods of time, right? When we're in fear, we are contracted. We pull ourselves in, right? We hold ourselves rigid when we're in fear. When we're in love, and when we're in creation energy, creative energy, we're much more expansive. We're much more relaxed, and we're open rather than being closed. Okay? Expansion. And number 16 in the deck, and that's a 7. It's all about the creator, right? And in some numerology, it's also about the mystery school. And the mystery school for a 7 is all about studying, not quite doing. You're not quite in the full doing of it, but you're studying it. And so the author says expansion is an inevitable process of the universe. Human beings and human consciousness also continue to evolve and expand. It is part of the evolutionary process. So, clinging to old and past experiences restricts a person's ability to grow. Expanding yourself spiritually and emotionally allows you to feel a greater sense of love, compassion, and harmony. Self realization follows these new levels of awareness as you build upon your previous knowledge and life experience. Realize that you are always in a permanent state of learning, and it's never too late to learn, right? So, what I think, what it felt like when I was looking at that card and taking in what the author had said to that point, for me, the second card always supports the message of the first one, helping us to understand it, right? And so with this one, it's about being open, and it's about expanding our experience, right? And so if we're led astray, and we bend to that secret temptation that's going to lead us astray, we're not working on ourselves. We're not taking in the information that will put us into the creative mode, the expansion, right? And so it really does divert our energy. Our energy is no longer placed on the evolution of our soul, our life lessons, our opportunity to grow. It's put into a different direction. Right? She goes on to say that you may have just left your old life behind. I read that and I started laughing. I thought, my spiritual team, they can be funny sometimes, but it's so true. We just left our old life behind. Every single one of us. Even those of us that have been around the spiritual block a few times, we've been on our journey, awakened, conscious for decades, we're still in the same place as everyone else. Our old life just ended. There is no going back to the old way, the old normal. It doesn't exist anymore. Even if you tried, something would have changed, right? And okay. Yeah, and Cindy's saying we are in the great expansion. Yes, we are. The great awakening, they call it. They do. Got to plug in my phone. I'm losing my battery on it. So our old life has been left behind. And a lot of us did that kind of work, it's like, because we've been talking about this new decade, the new year, since September. Here at Star Nations, almost every single show host, every single contributing writer had nearly the same message, different ways of saying it, different examples, but it was pretty consistent, right? That we were heading into this new. And so we all had to take a look at what we wanted to bring with us. What were we willing to let go of, to heal, to finally say that's done. I've healed everything I can possibly heal, and now I'm moving forward without it, right? We had to unpack our what were they called? Our bags of burden, right? We've been talking about that for months. And now here we are with this card of expansion saying that we left our old life behind and that we have all kinds of support is available to us. All we have to do is ask. So right now you're in a process of learning this new information that you're gaining through your research. You're talking to people. You're thinking about maybe career goals, your education, your skills, your training, and how you want to focus those, right? Or refocus those. So this new information is needed for the next step of your life. You may be feeling that you aren't up to the task ahead, but don't fear. Everything you need will be available to you in divine timing. It may feel like you are on the edge of not knowing what to do next. All that means is that this is a new experience and you require more information for the journey ahead. The affirmation is, my mind is open. I learn new information easily. My mind is open and I learn new information easily. So here's my take on it, is that spirit is saying, okay, you've had this time that was gifted to you to be home and to be quieter, to be still, to take a look at what do you want to change, what do you want to keep, do you want to learn more about yourself, to look at yourself with new eyes, right? And some of us have had temptations. And some of us do have secret temptation that was pulling us away from our path. And now we're being asked to identify that, look at it, learn from it, so that we can create our next, whatever that is for you, right? To have an open mind and an open heart to the possibilities. We have a chance for this. It's a gift. Not that it won't come back around again, but it won't come back around in the same way, right? All right. So you know that when we take a look at both cards, it could have a big impact. So take a big, deep breath in, okay? And then when you exhale, just call your team to you, your full team, and ask them to help you to take in the information from the cards that's meant for you, for your highest good, in the optimal way, in the optimal amount. In other words, seeing both the seen and the unseen and taking it in, taking it all in. Okay. All right. So here we go. Both cards. Secret temptation, being led astray, and expansion, right? Oops. And educate your mind and senses. Educate your mind and senses. And the affirmation for the expansion was, I have an open mind, right? And if you take a look at the first card, I even talked about what's going on near his head, between his third eye and that's not quite his crown. Right? So some self-discipline. Also take a look at what is the secret temptation and how do you what happens just prior to you saying, okay, I'm going to do it. Because you're going to learn a lot about yourself in that. Maybe heal something. Understand yourself at a deeper level. And whatever it is that's no longer supporting you, but leading you astray, is to let it go, release it. Make room, make that energetic room for what you're going to be creating in your next. Right? In your expansion. Right? We can only watch so much Netflix. Right? I think these two cards really have been kind of a kick in the pants, and saying, get on with it. Stop wasting your time. Stop wasting your energy and grow and grow, expand. Yeah. Yay. I got one thing I want to tell you about before we say adios. Wait a minute. I just want to make sure I get your comments in too. Angie says that sounds like to me, it's to be open, but not to fall into temptation of going backwards, to stay positive. There you go. It's a good one for you. Kimberly saying, love learning. Every day is a school day. Yes, the old was gone and now it's time for the new. 11 again. Yes, exactly. I agree. 11 viewers. Synchronicity. Yeah. Cindy says, another great show. You're welcome. You're welcome. Martina says, wow, I don't know what my next step is. A lot of people don't. It's okay. Your soul knows. Our soul already knows. We just have to tap into that. We have to connect to that part of ourselves, right? Yeah. It's there. It really is there. Great cards. Thank you, Jocelyn. I agree. Michelle says, great show and info. You're welcome. All right. I got one thing I wanted to remind you guys of is this. We're at the 4th class of the online classes of the Launch into Deep Waters of Manifesting. Yeah. When we planned this series, we didn't know about COVID. We didn't know about coronavirus last December. And so things have really shifted and changed. And so my class is coming up on May 3rd. That's Sunday, May 3rd, Remembering How to Create. And we're going to be taking a little journey together through the medicine wheel and about creating, and actually taking a look at it's not so much what we want to create, but how we create, and creating from the unified field, right? That's what we're going to talk about. And that is, I'm hoping by the end of the class on Sunday, that you'll be able to understand yourselves so much better as a creative force, a creative being. Yeah, that we all are. So if you want to join me, you still time to register. You'll get all 4 classes, the past 3 as recorded, and of course the last one with me will be live. We're using Zoom for it, so if you need help with Zoom, just let us know, because we're getting pretty good at it. Yeah. So what you get is the recorded classes of the previous 3. That would be with Maureen Mann, Ed Langdon, and Polly Joe. Oh my gosh, hers just last week, Thursday, was awesome. And then you also receive the bonuses that come along with it, meditations. Each one of us provided a meditation that you haven't received yet, haven't experienced. So go to starnations.org, click on the Academy button, and they'll give you all kinds of stuff there that you can click on. Starnations.org. There you go. What time? What time? On Sunday. It's during our usual time for the afternoon show, live stream show. So 2:00 Central Time, 3 Eastern. Right? So we won't have dream interpretation that day. We're going to have a class instead. Okay? All right. Thank you for that, Cindy. So, you guys, hopefully you'll be able to join us this evening for Polly Joe's live stream show, Soul Connections. And that's all about healing and divine messages. And so, hopefully, you guys will be able to join us for that. That's at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, right? And Thursday, she has chakra sessions at 7 as well. So, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. And we'll see you back here next week for the spiritual roundtable and the card draw. Let's see. I think that's the one. Yeah, that's the one. The spiritual roundtable. All right. Bama Mina, everybody. That means in Potawatomi until we see each other again. Love you guys.